Alright, chat. So, or not chat, YouTube actually. This will be the last part. I am not sure if this will be the same as the first part in terms of length. It might be, because there ended up being exactly 80 different tracks for me to at least put onto this list using the Deltarune Wiki. Not the fandom wiki, the Deltarune.wiki website. So this is all the ones I could get concrete uh, information and audio files for, so we can actually listen to them on stream and on video. Uh, but yeah, this is just going to be a culmination of sound effects mostly. So it might go by quicker, but we'll see what I have to say about some of these things. Uh, there is going to be spoilers in this one heavily, especially for some of the secret slash Easter egg related stuff. So if you do not want any of that, I would suggest not watching the video until you do everything in the game yourself. Uh, but if you don't care about that, you're more than welcome to just continue. Um, yeah, with that, I'm going to quickly set up everything that I usually set up. So give me 1 second. I'll be back in like 5, maybe 4 minutes. We'll see. Hold on, chat. Okay, we're good, chat. I have the wiki up on one of my monitors. This is the only way I'm gonna be able to play the audio files. I don't have any of the audio files downloaded, and I mean, I could have gone into the game's files and found each and every one of these and done it that way, but I would be subject to having to comb through a bunch of duplicates and then all of that. So I'm just gonna do this for simplicity's sake. These are all listed in the order by which the wiki lists them. So I'll have the link to the wiki and the link to this now finished tier list in the description of all 3 VODs when this third VOD part is uploaded. So if you're interested in wanting to do your own tiering of all of this, you can do that. Or if you're at all curious about any of the contents of any of this, I'm pretty sure the wiki has a page for every single music track in the game. Like where they play and all the... There's some of the motifs. I don't think the wiki is completely accurate, but it tries to be safe more often than not. With that though, we start off with Audio Drone. I will also be doing a brief description on the track itself and what the wiki says about it. So I'll do that for y'all interchangeably. One quick thing I should do. I'm gonna run the ads real quick, so bear with me for like the next 3 minutes or whatever. It's just gonna be ads. It should be happening here soon. As for you, YouTube, or yeah, just YouTube in general, in about 9 days from this VOD being uploaded, I will start my playthrough of Deltarune's Weird Route from chapters 1 through 5. I'll basically do it the same way I did with my initial playthrough. And I'll also be doing the egg steps in addition to that. So stay tuned for that if you liked my Deltarune playthrough. Is there anything else I can think of while this ad's playing? Oh yeah, another weekend, or this weekend, another beta for Gears of War E-Day is happening, so I'm gonna be streaming that throughout the weekend. So if you're at all interested in seeing me play that, head over to my Twitch. Should be in my channel description. If not, it's in the video description down below. Same place where the tier list and wiki are linked. But yeah, that's all I have to say. My ad break notifications are all messed up on Twitch. That's fun. I'll holler whenever the ad break stuff is done. I'll say today, out of all of the days that I've worked on this tier list, I don't know if it's because I like got out and my attention span's a bit quicker in terms of like, or not quicker but longer. I'm perceiving time a lot slower than I was like a week ago. Because while I was working on these parts for the tier list, I was getting through them way quicker than I was with the prior two parts, which was odd to me. But I ended up finishing them with an extra hour and a half to spare. More than I thought I would. Oh, okay. They seem to be over, but I'm gonna wait just a little bit longer, just in case they add displays were not accurate on my side. Actually, I could do this while we wait. That works. That's like perfect, actually. I didn't even have to do anything. That's just good. Okay. So y'all can see uh the wiki page that I'm reading off of. I don't know if the bitrate will even be that great, but I'll keep it there for now. That way y'all can have a display of what I'm actually seeing and reading, even though it's not that great, I would presume. Alright, let's actually start now. We start with Audio Drone. This track plays on the chapter select screen, the file select screen without completion data, as the voice begins to speak to the player before the introduction, during a game over in Chapter 1, and after losing to the knight with a Chapter 3 completion file. So, this is during the black and green terminal looking save files that happens in Chapter 1. I forget exactly when that save file gets changed over to the normal one for chapters 1, 2, and 3. But is it all of chapter 1 that has that? I think it's just No, I think it's just the start of chapter 1. I don't think it forget what it gets changed by completely. I think it's just the normal Dark Fountain background with the trio, the main gang or the shit squad. Let's listen to it though. Yeah, very ambient. Sounds a lot like what was it? I don't know if there was a cutscene or if it was a fan-made cutscene, but it sounds a lot like when the determination machine, the determination extractor from Undertale's lab, forget the name of the lab, was being powered on. Like, it sounds like something's being powered on and running, which is fitting with the terminal theme, given that this plays during the no completion data save file. If I had to rate it, it's is it a sound or is it ambience? Because it does loop. I'd say it's ambience, so it probably goes in sound. A lot of these are going to be in the sound category, so I'm actually going to have to rate these pretty objectively, or as objectively as I can. Audio Drone's probably going below breathe. It is a bit, what do you call it? It is very ominous, which is funny given that we'll get to that, but there's a lot of connections with the word ominous. But it's very looming or dreadful when you hear it, especially if it's your first interaction with Deltarune as a whole, and you're on that save file selection, and it's just this audio combined with the very bland and black and green terminal like save file selection. So I'll give it some credit. It's very jarring, or I guess confusing introduction to Deltarune, but it does its job pretty well. Next we have W. This track plays at the end of the introduction when the player's vessel is discarded. So right after you're done making your vessel, and then it gets discarded, this will play. This plays whenever the dialogue of the narrator, presumably Gaster, tells you that it doesn't matter and that the choices you make will not dictate anything that happens. And then it plays this audio for like a good, I think, 3 seconds, maybe 5. And then immediately just jump cuts to Chris in their bed or in the room. I don't quite know. I'd have to make a new save file, which I will in like 9 days. But yeah. In terms of sound effect, even though that is ambience too, you barely ever hear it. It's only in one instance. It reminds me a lot of the Roaring Knight's roar, but kind of edited or like dampened a little bit. Mixed with the the reoccurring wind. Like, where is it? Do we have a wind file, or am I thinking of something else? I'm probably thinking of something else. But it feels like there's a blizzard going through on top of that as well, which is reminiscent of the whole Ice Palace thing and Snowed In and Genocide Route. Very, very ominous once again. I'll put it in sound alongside Audio Drone. I don't think it's as memorable, mainly because it only happens once and it's mainly just a set piece. So I'll probably put it like, it's probably bottom S sound wise. It might go into top of B, but we'll see as I continue through this. Next we have Ocean. This track plays in chapter 1 after Chris and Susie enter the school closet and fall into question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. The sound cuts out abruptly after the black screen when it transitions back to Chris appearing in their Dark World attire. The sound does not play if Chris sleeps in their bed and wakes up in question mark, you get the point. It also plays in Chapter 2 and 4 if Chris idles at the end of the lake path. In Chapter 2, this plays when Chris and Susie sit beside each other at the lake shoreline. Not to be confused with Ocean from Deltarune.com's Damn You Tenna page, where the track corresponds in the game to Board Ocean. So, this... Let me play it. Yeah, that loops. Again, it's very ambient. It's simplistic, and that's on purpose because it's supposed to be as real as possible as you could get when you put it in to a game. If you just take an ocean shore going by, this is the closest you could get with no effects or any music involved. And as we'll come to see in later tracks and some of the information that is on the wiki, the ocean itself that gets mentioned whenever you're near the lake, which is very ocean-like, has a lot of connection to the weird route in what happens in Chapter 5. I'm not completely privy to the weird route, but I read through this entire wiki page, like twice, maybe 3 times. So I have a decent idea of what occurs, but I'm not certain on the specifics. So I don't have any of like the big reveal, whatnot spoiled for me. I just know very, very, very generalized summaries. I will say it's very good at doing its job. I'd say it's above Breathe, maybe Fanfare, Pushing Buddies, yeah. Uh, very ominous. It reminds me of the river sound effects from or not Deltarune, Undertale, in that it's just a river and a current of water going by without any other added effects or music, which by itself is fine, but giving the implications that you're playing the game and everything that happens has some sort of musical or whimsical aspect to it. When you hear just normal sound, it's a bit polarizing, or again ominous. It's a little bit uncomfortable given the fact that there's supposed to be something here, but the fact that this exists by itself means something else, at least to your brain. And most of the time it does mean something. So for that, I'll give it middle of S tier. It's very good at being bold, even though it's very simplistic. Next we have Elevator. This track plays when riding the elevators in Card Castle during Chapter 1. When playing during the elevator cutscene, the track starts at 10% speed and 60% volume, before gradually speeding up for a while. It then slows back down to 10% shortly before arriving at floor 1. When riding the elevators outside of the cutscene, this track begins playing at 50% speed and 70% volume, then gradually speeds up before slowing back down to 0% speed and 0 volume. Very technical information regarding how it's used. For just it being the elevator in Card Castle. Now, let me play it. Again, the very overwhelming wind, white noise, very much like a blizzard. Along with it reminds me of the what sound effect is it from Undertale when you are there's a very specific thing in one of the tracks that I can't quite name, but it has that same with the hi-hats. It's very I won't say simplistic, but it clouds your ears a lot. It bombards you with the volume of the wind / white noise, or white noise. And then it has the hi-hats that are supposed to play there and represent like very, very simplistic elevator music, I think, is what it's doing. Because usually elevator music has some sort of bossa nova track that plays, but this is literally just hi-hats to be a little tiny groove. But the silence is way more loud than the music playing in the elevator, which I feel like it does a lot to replicate that feeling of when you're just completely silent in an elevator. And most of the time there isn't even music in the elevator. I have never been in an elevator that has played music in it. So the sound of just white noise while you're riding on an elevator is very apparent, and this does a very good representation of that. That being said, I don't like... It's very good contrast with the hi-hats and the white noise, but it doesn't really hold that much value to like memory or the game as a whole. It's just there to be eerie elevator ambience, and that's about it. Which it does its job well, so I'll give it like, it's better than ERAM, but it doesn't have anything special going for it past that. Next we have Care Join, or Car Join. This short fanfare track plays when Susie properly joins the party in Chapter 1, when Noelle joins the party in Chapter 2, and when she joins the study group outside her house in Chapter 4. So this is compared to, where is it? Fanfare right here. This is a shorter version of it. I've heard it a couple of times. It's in my head. Kind of the same jingle as the Snowden motif, or just song from Undertale. And, it's the same as Fanfare, I believe. I don't think there's any alteration besides just it being shortened. And it also has some of Carol's song in there, Girl Next Door. So you get a lot of different nostalgia with this, but at the same time it's its own new thing. Very pretty. I love the reverb on it, and the sound of the piano is very nice. But this falls into sound effect again. I think it's better than Fanfare, even though it is literally just Fanfare but shortened, because it's the proper joining party sound for whenever Susie and Noelle actually join your party and follow you. So it's memorable in that regard. And it's also just fits Deltarune's vibe a lot. It's not ominous. It's just good for what it is. It's probably not better than Pushing Buddies there. It's just better than Fanfare, and that's as far as it'll go. Next track is Honk Song. This one's going to be significantly longer. This one will count more as a track or song. This track plays nearby Hometown's library at the start of Chapter 2. Some of the car honks quote several Undertale themes, including Your Best Friend, Nyah! Dog Song, and Metal Crusher. It is literally just going to be I hear Your Best Friend there. Dog Song. Okay, so yeah, that's in order. I like it how he just completely gives up on making the honks like believable as crowd noise, and he just fully does the start of Metal Crusher. It gives off a lot of Silver Gunner energy, in that it feels like a song rip with like random noises that just becomes identifiable motifs from like popular memes. It goes in the joke category, and it's probably in like middle tier for joke songs. I'll put it below Cat Fashion and Brat Fashion. Is it better than the bromide joke with Flowery? Yeah. It's a bit more I mean, you only get the joke if you understand or have played or have listened to Undertale. And you aren't really gonna. You could hear it if you deliberately just stood there and listened to the honking, but most of the time you're just gonna blow past this and not recognize it as being satirical and or joke ridden. But just for that, it's good. So I'll say it's not on the nose, but it's there. So it gets high S tier, top 5 S tier, yeah. Next we have Ali Ambience. This track plays in the trash zone in Chapter 2 and during Round 3's cooking show segment in Chapter 3. It uses the same ambience as Digital Roots. Cars going by. That's the sound of a bus braking. As in, like, coming to a stop at a crossing. I like that ambience a lot. It's not overtly... What is it? It's not overtly clear what it is because of how edited out all of the high end is. Like, it's not... If you went out and recorded a intersection with a bunch of traffic in it, it would sound way messier and louder than this in terms of like cars passing by, but Toby ended up editing it so it's a bit muffled, so you can't quite put your finger on it being traffic noise at an intersection, but because you're in the trash zone in Chapter 2, it is still fairly like vague as to it being traffic noise. And since you're in trash zone, there's no cars that go by, even though it takes place on a road with trash on the sidewalk and all that. So it's like it does sound like distant traffic. And it does a good job at that. Again, very eerie in the implication that there is Digital Roots ambience, hints towards the secret steps for Chapter 2's boss fight with Spamton. Because I think every single like basement or secret area that you have to interact with in some way to get to the boss fight throughout Chapters 1 and 5 has a Roots or Digital Roots or Bit Roots connection. So this has one of those connections. It'll go in sound, S tier sound. Probably better than Audio Drone. Not better than Breathe, though. Because I feel like the Roaring Night has a lot more implication. Especially with Breathe. And the fact that the Roaring Night's living, it's breathing. Which can give you some ideas to it being more than just a dark being. Or a darkener. A pure dark. My opinion has changed as to the theories regarding Roaring Night, but I'll get to them when we cross that road in the Weird Route playthrough. But yeah, Alley Ambience is... I'm comfortable where I put that. Shinkansen. I'm not good. Shinkansen? Kansen. Shinkansen. 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 I'm butchering that because I'm pretty sure that's yeah, it's a Japanese term for a network of speed railway lines, so I'm butchering that 100%. I apologize. But this track plays when the party rides carts in the basement of Queen's Mansion before the Spamton Neo fight, or Spamton Neo appears. So it's like right as you get put on the tracks, and then the moment when you get put on them, right before Spamton Neo appears, is when this plays. I hear keys jingling. Although that could be the sound of the carts, like, kind of jumping or rattling very, very slightly as they go across the tracks. Again, very, very good in terms of being jarring and yet simplistic for their situation. Gets you tense. It's very, very tense with these sounds, or these kinds of sounds where it's just ambience from the real world put into the game with no other special Toby flair besides the game's bitrate with sounds, but I don't think it has a limit on the types of sounds I can use as much as Undertale did with like MIDI and all that. This goes, I think, above elevator, but not above. Just because it's the same, it's on the same level, it's the same kind of ambience that occurs. I guess I could put alley ambience in there too. I might. But I feel like this does a lot better because you can walk around and it's not just during a cutscene. So you can like explore the area that's actually playing this ambience, which does a lot more to like immerse you and get you connected to the song being, or the ambience being associated with the trash zone, compared to just the elevator in Shinkansen, or Shinkansen, Kansen, Kasen, Kansen, Kansen, Shinkansen, uh, being attributed with just cutscenes or uninteractable segments that you can't really do much with. So I'll give it that. That's why it's higher. I might refute my argument for that later, but for now I'm fine with that. Next up we have Wind High Place. There's a lot of information regarding this. This track is introduced in Chapter 2, where it plays on the rooftop of Queen's Mansion. In Chapter 3, this track plays in the Couch Cliffs when the party visits the cold place for the first time, and during Tenna's explanation of his deal with the knight. If the knight is defeated, the track plays when Susie and Rouse are swooned. The track is also played upon inspecting the shelter at the end of the chapter. This track also, in addition, there's a lot of repeats, but it is what it is. It's just information. This track also plays in Chapter 4 when interacting with the Dreamer Residence Fountain, as well as the Dark Sanctuary and the Second Sanctuary fountains, and at the Crumbling Tower Summit in the Third Sanctuary. In Chapter 5, this track plays in front of Flower King at sunset before Chris removes the soul. In the high outdoor areas in the east and west sections of Flower Castle, and after the flowery fight. So basically anywhere that has silence, or there's supposed to be silence, but at a high area that is supposed to be at high altitude compared to the what otherwise would be normal ground level. Yep. Supposed to give you that sense of vertigo or height at wherever you're standing, or wherever a cutscene or something is taking place. Very reminiscent of the Genocide Routes blizzard sounds or ambient sounds during Snowden, very reminiscent of walking up to Papyrus before his fight in any of the routes, I think, in Undertale. So it has some connections, and the fact that it's used widely is you will remember it. Like, I have this in my mind when I hear it. I'll be like, oh yeah, it was used in some of those parts. And for that, I'll give it a higher rating in the S. I think it has slightly more use case and is more impactful. But it's probably just better than Alley Ambience. I don't think it's better than Breathe. I like the Ocean is better than it, solely because Ocean is, while it's not inherently part of the main sequences that you'll play through once you do, or you play Deltarune for the first time, you have to go out of your way to hear Ocean the additional times. And it also has connection with weird route sequences and plot and all that. So it has more meaning than Wind High Place does. That being said, Wind High Place has some very good drama elements and also has that jarring, ominous factor to it, as with any of the other normal sounding ambience does. Next we have Birdly Descent. This is the one that's on the thumbnail of the videos with his cheeky fucking sprite with the rose in his mouth. This track plays when Birdly descends with a rose in his mouth after the Ferris wheel cutscene in Queen's Mansion. This track plays 30% slower in-game than it will be played here. It's a very good sound. It is a tiny bit longer than what I just played it at, so it would probably be at around 5 seconds, maybe 5.2 seconds if I had to wager on like almost exacts or estimates. As for sound, it's cute and it's like magical feeling. It's majestic. The bird has come down with the rose, the prince. As for where I'd put it, probably below character joined, but not below fanfare. I feel like character joined or care joined is better in that it's more memorable and is tied to multiple characters and whatnot than just Birdly, with Birdly being the character he is. And this only plays in one interaction with Birdly. I don't think it plays anywhere else. So, yeah. Still good though, they both have the same energy. Next up we have Ambient Water _weird. This sound plays when the river appears in Ralsei's explanation of Dark Worlds in Chapter 3. It is an echoing variation of the water sound that is used in some areas in Undertale's Waterfall and in the River Person rooms. It also plays on deltarune.com/chair/ upon clicking on the chair. It was revealed in 2022 before the release of Chapter 3. Yep. Very edited. It's a muffled and slightly echoey version, like an echo chamber version of the waterfall ambience from Undertale. The fact that the file name is ambient water is fine, but that the additional fact that he added weird on top of it, and that it appears when the friend pops up, even though I think friend is like, or the cat monster thing that appears during the cutscene right here, this little guy. The fact that he's retconned or got like removed from plot just because Toby didn't want people talking about him a lot. But the fact that the wow, I'm repeating myself a lot. Sorry for my shitty vocabulary. But the fact that weird is used to describe the sound of the river, I feel like implies that this has some Weird Route connection. Kind of like how Weird Birds, Weirder Birds, and all of that does. But because it only shows up in the cutscene that also plays the flashback excerpt, I think it plays the flashback excerpt, but this plays on top of it, does a lot. I'll put it like, let's see. I'll put it above, I'll put it below breath. Yeah, I'll put it below breath. I'm safe with there. It's better than Wind and High Place and all that just because the connection that it has, the fact that it's a reuse of Undertale, but then edited and then named differently, to the point where it has Weird Route implication, I think is very interesting. But that could just be me overthinking it. But I like to overthink a little bit. It's fun. That's my personal reason for putting it higher, but I could see the argument for other way around. Since I also value it being memorable, which this is memorable for the sake of it being Undertale, but it's not memorable in its use. It's only significant in file name and file name alone. Next we have SND_link_secret. It's a jingle that plays when finding the secret mailroom entrance and when unlocking the pyramid with the moon cloud stone in chapter 3. It is a variation on Tenna's motif, reminiscent of the Puzzle Solved song from the Legend of Zelda series. Yeah. It has the Tenna motif in there, I can hear it. But it's sequenced differently and at a very consistent rhythm. And again, it's referencing Legend of Zelda. I don't care for it. It's probably like it's cute, but it's probably just above W, and that's it. I can't think of a reason why it'd be above ERAM. Doesn't really have that much significance. But, you know. Okay. Ow. Okay, next we have Bored Ocean. Let me see if I have more tea. I do. Ooh, let me take a sip of this real quick. This sound plays when disembarking near the Ice Palace on the island board in Chapter 3. In the sword route, it replaces sword before picking up the sword. Whenever hero_sword reaches level max in the first game, level 2 in the second game, and plays uninterrupted in the final game. It also plays on deltarune.com/damnyoutenna after clicking on the crossed out TV, then on the upper nose square when scrolling to the bottom of the static noise page. It was revealed in 2022 before the release of Chapter 3. It's the ocean ambience. It has 2 different versions. The one is at a higher frequency, and then the second part is at a lower frequency. So you could attribute this to, if you wanted to be very, very pedantic, the first one is a higher chord, And then the second one is a lower chord. Rhythm-wise, or sequence-wise. You could attribute that to Gaster. But again, that's stretching it so far in terms of like, oh, if the chord progression is just high chord and then low chord, that's Gaster. Yes, but the fact that that by itself is not directly coherent to Gaster. But the fact that this plays during the sword route, the fact that it plays during very important parts of the sword route, like after you kill all the monsters or enemies and then get max level, the fact that it plays near the ice palace in the island board, which has significance because Tenna ends up trying to cover it up, like you aren't supposed to be there, which means both Tenna and Chris have reasons and desire to not go near the ice palace, which is very interesting. And to just not have it revealed. You could attribute it to Gaster with all of those things combined if you wanted to. And also the fact that it is of 8-bit Ocean, which is just a version of the ocean ambience that we listened to earlier. And the fact that the ocean, or the lake, which represents a sort of ocean, plays the original ocean ambience, and the lake has significance to the weird route, I think gives it more meaning to be Gaster related in some form, or if not, some form of his motif, whether or not he's directly related or is the causation of the weird route. I will say it is probably better than Ocean, because I believe doing the sword route and exploring the island board in Chapter 3 happens way more often than it would if you just sat next to the lake in some of the chapters in the overworld, or the light world. So, I will put it above Ocean, but that's only because of its appearances. And the fact that it has 2 different shore sounds. I do find the fact that Toby deliberately made this have 2 different shore sounds kind of makes it a bit more interesting. Because it also, if you listen to this might be me stretching again. It kind of sounds like the chords to the alarm sounds of certain tracks. I forget where it plays. But because it plays during parts where you kill everybody and then get closer to getting the keys and getting the Shadow Mantle and whatnot, I feel like that adds more meaning to that. Like it's an alarm to ward you off of danger, which there is a track here later that is called Danger Alert or something, which is when you prompt Chris to forcefully put the thorn ring onto Noelle when she's in your party. Which, again, has that, like, alarm thing of, oh, don't do this even though it's part of the weird route. Because it's supposed to be prompting you to not do weird route, but you are instructed to do it. I'm very curious as to who's instructing Chris to doing it, or the player into doing it. I don't think it's Gaster. I really don't. But we'll see. There's got to be some answers to it in the next 2 chapters. Whether I don't think it's going to be main game explained. I think it's just going to be explained in its weird route and Eggman counterparts, or maybe in the files like this. Because even though these are just file names, I feel like the file names in and of themselves have some implication as to what Toby is thinking when he's making the sounds and where he wants to put them. So that is important to keep note of. Unless he otherwise states that the name is just arbitrary. Next up we have Newscast. This track plays when Tenna announces TV Time's bonus round. It is a sped up version of Live Report from Undertale, cut right before Mettaton's leitmotif starts. Yeah, there's supposed to be a what? There's supposed to be a Mettaton motif that plays after that. But it is used for Tenna here. It's a good set piece or tool for Toby to set up like a live news, this just in feeling with Tenna's dialogue and the chain of events that happen in chapter 3, and the tight little nod to Undertale's live report is nice. I just don't think it is memorable, but it's memorable in the same way that, where was it? If I could find it. I had one that I just talked about that was like this. It's memorable in the fact that if you played Undertale and knew the original song, you could remark on being like, "Oh, this is the live report song or the new song from Undertale." But in terms of its use in Deltarune and that being memorable, I can't, like, I feel like most of the stuff with Tenna is a bit forgettable besides some of his songs and his like animations and the voice lines. It's not really the sound effects that are used for that. They all kind of give off the same vibe. It's kind of like, it gives off the feeling of like trash TV, where like if you put on the news or one of those, I don't know what you call them, but they're these weird channels that like show jewelry that you call in to like buy jewelry on sale, but it's like cheap jewelry. That nobody likes. It kind of gives off that feeling, or like very old game shows, which is a good feeling. I won't say that's directly trash TV, but it's so, TV in and of itself is so like samey that a sound effect like this just kind of blends in with everything else. So I can't really say it's too remarkable. It's definitely not better than it's not better than Shinkansen, it's not better than Elevator, it's not better than ERAM, it's not better than Sound Link's Secret. It is probably better than W. Just because it has some slight better advantages to W. Next we have, I don't know how to say it. Is it Basi Distort? B-A-C-I? Baki? I want to say Baki, but it might be Basi. This track plays before Tenna begins round 3 of TV Time in Chapter 3. It is a loud and distorted version of the "And Now for Today's Sponsors" track. It plays 50% faster in-game compared to what it is in this file. I like the distortion The issue is, and it also sounds better whenever it's sped up. That's why Toby sped it up for the moment, because this is when Tenna's having his like kind of breakdown or like psychotic breakdown, and then sends the shit squad into the doom board. So it's eventful in that, but the song itself, I don't feel like this is that great of a song to do this with. It only happens because it's memorable, and then you edit it and distort it so it's kind of creepy and sudden when it's happening. There's going to be examples of stuff like this that work, I think, better later on, that do what this is trying to do, but at a greater extent. I'm going to give this top of B tier. B tier will be filled up more. Like, I could put W down there. I honestly might. Actually, I probably will here soon. I'll put it above W. But that doesn't mean it's bad, because and now for today's sponsors is a good track, and I like how it's used. It's just not. It's not the best example of using something like this to indicate something crumbling, or like a facade coming away, or some impending uneasy doom or fate or death or creepiness is about to happen. Or some big fucked up thing is about to happen. Compared to some of the other examples that will come up later. And this is the only one I know that distorts in the main playthrough like this. Most of the other ones are in the weird route. So it is interesting that it happens on Tenna in that regard, but I think that's just because Tenna is like crazy and he's a TV. And if the audio of a TV's fucked up, it kind of sounds like this. Especially in-game when it's sped up, it kind of sounds like you're speeding a VHS forward a little bit. It gives off that same energy, but nowhere near as fast as that. So it does what it's trying to do good, it's not the best example. Next we have board4_rhythm, or just board4rhythm. This track plays during round 3's rock video segment. It is a chopped up version of Now's Your Chance to Be a in-game. In-game, it distorts and slows down. Did it really just not play anything the first? Six, 7. It's at 7 seconds. That's interesting. It would be distorted, so I guess that's another example of the distortion being used to represent like something fucked up or gloomy or whatnot. This is slightly better because there's connection with not only Tenna using it during the rock video segment, but it's also a connection between Tenna and Spamton, which there's more connections between the two, but this is more of a hint compared to like board 4 with it just being a Tenna song distorted. So I'll give it like it's still B tier. There's better examples of something like this being done, but it is better than Bossy Distort. Next we have the absolute banger, Find Her. This track plays in Gotcha Room Unknown. It is a guitar-only variant of Lost Girl. It also plays on deltarune.com/Des after clicking on Des's guitar. It's such a moodier version and way sadder version of Lost Girl. give my thoughts about it after it's done playing. Those low chords and those low notes, low strings. That is the best rendition and the best version of Lost Girl in the entire game. And it's not just in the game files. You can actually listen to this in the game. Via you do an Easter egg step, which I will be doing in the Weird Route playthrough I do of all the chapters. But this counts as a song, obviously. And this goes extremely high. Where is Lost Girl? Where did I put Lost Girl? There? I'm gonna put this in, like, above Glacier. Even though you can't directly get access to it in the OST, which is a real bummer, because I would love to listen to this and add it to a playlist, solely because of how good it is. Quality-wise, and I also just like Qatar a lot, and the reverb on it is very nice. It's very lullaby-esque. In terms of implications, my theory that Noelle's theme was actually Dess's, but Des kind of passed it down to Noelle when she was young. I think Des played this song on the guitar the same way you hear it in this track, and then sang her a lullaby to her, and then Noelle is hanging on to that, and using that to, like, remember Des, but also carry on some of Des's memory, which is very sweet. It also gives off this feeling of, like, find her, like Noelle wants to find her. That's just how I interpret both the song's implications of that both being finding Des and Lost Girl being the same motif as this. Another thing I will remark on that I've brought up, I think in both the parts, the bit rate of the bit crunch of the song is like kind of 8-bit. There's a crunch to it. Which, as I've stated, Toby likes to use a lot when you reminisce on the past in the game. If anyone's talking about something that happened a long time ago, or like nostalgia, the song that accompanies it always has some sort of bit crush to it. Which this one does. Granted, the guitar and the bass of the guitar are a lot more prominent, but the bit crush is present. It's not just the entirety of the thing. Of the song, like here. Which again, it feels like Noelle's like dreaming about it almost. But again, I can't truly state whether or not this is what is it? I can't state whether or not this song is from Des herself, or if it's someone thinking about Des, and this is the song that's playing in their head. That's probably more likely. It's probably Noelle thinking of Des, but this plays in the gotcha room, which is where Chris is by themselves and goes up to a gotcha pawn machine. So again, I can't really confirm nor deny anything here, but there's a lot of stuff with how Toby makes his music that you can infer what this song is supposed to be for in the game. So that's why it gets S in my opinion. It's on the same level as Glacier. Next we have sound underscore link underscore secret underscore bad. This is during chapter 3's sword route. This jingle plays in the original game while picking up the sword, finding the secret passage up the waterfall in the island board, and killing the singing cat in the room with 4 silent cats in the manhole dungeon. It is an alternate version of sound underscore link underscore secret with echo. Yeah. The fact that it's just the same file but with echo is a little bit weird to me, but I think it's because you're in the caves in all of these. Or you're in some sort of like desolated place, so there's an echo compared to being accompanied. But I don't know why this one's bad. I guess it's because it's like steps that you shouldn't be doing. Because you're killing the singing cat. Singing cat, can't think of a implication of who that would represent unless like Catty? Maybe? I don't know. But whatever it is you're doing, it's bad, it's forbidden. I'll give it, do I have sound underscore link underscore secret already here? Yeah, I do. I'll say it's better, but I can't directly piece as to why it's more significant. It just is by proxy of it being specified as bad and it showing up in very specific cases. So I can't quite say why it's more significant, but it is. Just by proxy. So that's why it's slightly better than normal Link Secret. Next up is Board Ominous. This is a version of the Weird Route Ominous jingle that plays. And it's the only Ominous jingle that plays if you're doing Sword Route and you're doing the normal route of Deltarune. You don't have to be doing Weird Route to hear this Ominous jingle, which is interesting to me. A jingle that plays when Hero underscore Sword gains a level in the original game, and when the White Cloak starts following them in the Ice Palace. It is a chiptune version of sound underscore ominous. Very quick. Has no echo. It might have a little bit of echo in it. Let me hear it again. It kind of does, but that might be just because of the notes. I'll put it above. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Just because it's. What is it? It is the Weird Route jingle. And the fact that you can hear it without having to be on the Weird Route yourself is very interesting to me. But it's not anywhere near as impactful as the normal ominous soundbite that plays. So I have to put this in like it has to go there by proxy. The normal soundbite goes way higher because it plays multiple times and it's an indicator of you gradually getting weirder or more forbidden in your actions and or choices. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to the other sounds. Next we have sound underscore link underscore get underscore key. It's an eerie jingle that plays when hero underscore sword finds the ice key in the desert board. It is reminiscent of atonal music. Is it the same? I think it is the same, it's just slowed down. If you were to put that in a MIDI, I would assume it has the same notes. If not, it's very similar. I can also play with the playback speed, which is very nice, actually. I'm gonna keep doing that. That could give me some answers as to what some of these sounds might be. I could also have played some stuff better if I sped them up earlier, which I will do now. Or continuing onward. As for the sound itself and where I'd rate it, it's good. I like the ominous, like, it's ear-piercing, and it gets... You can't miss it. And it's very jarring for whenever you pick up the ice key in the desert board. It's very ominous. I can't quite describe why I'd give it higher other than its... The implication of its existence and it being important, I think does a lot. But other than that, I can't do more than just saying it has importance and it's very bold. It's very punctuate? Is that even a word? It's very vocal. I can't think of the word, but you get what I mean. It's very hard hitting. You can't... It gets in your face and shows itself to you. Like, it feels like you did something wrong, which you kind of did in the sword route, but I mean, getting the Shadow Mantle isn't that bad. It's just a sword route in a video game, but the implications of all that are weird. Where would I place it? Probably above sound link get. I'm gonna put newscast down here. And this. And this. There we go. Just to organize things a bit more. But just know, like, that being in B has, like, no, it's not bad at all. All these are still very good. It's just, it's eh. Next we have sound underscore board underscore secret underscore normal. It's a jingle that plays when solving puzzles in the Ice Palace. It is a lower pitched version of Link's Secret. I like that a lot more than Link's Secret. Mainly because I think it's a lot more... Because you're already in the Ice Palace, you're already doing some of the weird route instruction, because you have the white cloak, which is supposed to represent Noel, or the deer, and you're doing the chapter 2 weird route, or the representation of the chapter 2 weird route in the game. So this being lower note gives off the same feeling of the city music being weird route. There's going to be its own track once we get down to the weird route section. For chapter 2 Cyber World, or Cyber City, that is basically Cyber City, or wow, City, but it's edited. So it does the same thing. So I think it gets higher just because of that. It gives off the same vibe and meaning. Next we have the chapter 4 first intro. This is when you boot up chapter 4 without a save file. It is a shorter alternate version of Neverending Night from the OST. Hello, Jackson. How's your day been? I like the intro a lot. I like Dark Sanctuary and the motifs that are in it. I think this is Neverending Night, but Neverending Night has a lot of similarities to Dark Sanctuary as a track and just chapter 4 in general. So it's a sound, and it gets high up there. It's probably like, where would I put it? It's above Mysterious Raining. It's above Dig Dig to the Center of the Earth. Yeah, it's better. Gives off the same feeling as the chapter 5 logo. The only downside is you only hear this if you boot up chapter 4 without any save file. So you only hear it once. You got lancered. I haven't seen a lot of those memes. I've seen a lot of goofy the legend memes with Lancer. The digging song, yeah. Got lancered. It's the Lancer digging song is very good. I like the song a lot. Talked about that in my last stream I did with the tier list, which is watchable if you go to my YouTube, but I've already passed that point. Next point, wow, I'm slurring my thoughts here. Next one is Strong Wind _loop. This track plays when the knight tries to blow the party away in the beginning of the Dark Sanctuary, and when the Sound of Justice jumps at Susie in the second Sanctuary. This track also briefly plays in Chapter 5, before the battle against Flowery, after he gains power from his recruits. Yeah. At the beginning of this tier list part, I forget what sound it was. What was it called? Was it just... What was it? Was it alley ambience? Something close to that. Gives off the same feeling as the Roaring Night roar, but that's because I think this sound accompanies the roar on top of that. So it's very good at being Strong Wind. I mean, it's just strong ambience. Blizzard, kind of. It sounds like a blizzard, which again, most of the ambience that has wind in it gives me the same vibe of Genocide Route Snowden with blizzard motifs. Other than that, it's just used for dramatic effect, and it's just a sound effect. I don't think it has any other meaning compared to something like Wind High Place. So I'll put it like below board ominous, but I won't put it any higher. Next up we have Small Piano Room. This track plays in the piano room located before the Dark Zone and the Jackenstein fight. It is a slowed down version of a part of the intro of the Dark Sanctuary track. I remember it being there in my memory of Chapter 4. And it does sound like that. If I speed it up, will it sound more like it? That's closer. I don't think I'd be able to get... I mean, that's close. But, other than that, it's good. It's good. I can remember it, and it has the same never-ending night/Dark Sanctuary vibe/motif. So I'll give it high, but it's not that great. Mainly because of the pitching, in my opinion. But it's still good. There's better examples of edited songs like this being used later. We'll get to that once we get down to the weird route stuff. Next we have Muse_Night Thought. This track is a pitched down and shortened version of Breath. It is used in Chapter 4 for the Think of the Night cutscene, as well as when the Titan starts healing itself. Yeah, I can hear it. If it's slowed down... Or no, it's just a pitch down. It's not even shortened, so I can't do anything regarding speed. It's okay. The fact that it's used in both the Roaring Night cutscene for Think of the Night and for the Titan gives credence to my theory that since the Titan is just a dark being and is only a dark being that has no identity other than being a Titan, that would also mean that the Roaring Night is a dark being that doesn't have an identity or a corresponding Lightner identity. Which, I still am under the preference, which is a safe preference, that there is no identity of the Roaring Night. It's just a being of darkness that exists to be a antagonist for the Shit Squad. But there's a lot of connections between Des and the Roaring Night. But it's not enough, in my opinion, to say that it's conclusively Des, which some people would heavily fight me on, given the fact that during the Chapter 2 phase, when people had to wait however many years, I think it was like 3 years, for Chapters 3 and 4 to come out, people were theorizing to hell what the Roaring Night was, and then the newsletter came out for the Spam Sun Sweepstakes, and the newsletter, and then 3 and 4 came out, and then it kind of confirmed more of the stuff. But it feels like what ended up happening was people ended up theorizing and putting their theory of who the Roaring Night is onto the game's lore with the amount of evidence they had, but didn't think about how there is no actual reason to believe the Roaring Night has an identity. If anything, the way the Roaring Night is depicted during Ralsei's explanation of Dark Worlds in Chapter 3, and the design of Roaring Night being just completely a black entity with a white outline, should draw more of a connection between Roaring Night and the Titans just being dark beings with no identity for lighteners. But I can't deny deaths having strong correlation with the night. So I'm fine with either being the truth. If the Roaring Night has no identity, and that's how it is, I'm fine with that. If the Roaring Night is deaths in some way, I'm fine with that. As for this being a sound, it's not better than breathe. It's not better than ambient water weird, but it's better than wind high place. Just because it gives credence to my personal theory that Roaring Night has no identity in terms of lore. They might have symbolic identity, but there's definitely not an actual person controlling the night in my headcanon. Or in my brain. Next up is PNPN. Or Piano Ian. You can read it as Piano Ian, because the loop in piano is supposed to be an O, but it repeats. This sound effect is used in Chapter 4 after Chris plays the piano to unlock the door leading to the Dark Fountain in the old man's study. The song consists of only a piano with repeating notes, but slowly becomes muffled and fades out. An original arrangement, also known as PNPN, plays on deltarune.com/Chris_Dreamer_Chris. It was revealed in 2022 before the release of Chapter 4. Let me listen to it. Okay. Call me crazy, but the latter half, where all of the main notes being pressed gets muted and all you hear is the very, very low reverb, I swear there's Don't Forget in there. But that could just be my brain putting pieces where there's not. It's probably me just thinking that there's something there, but there's definitely note changes, because I hear high note, low note, and then medium note. So it goes high, low, medium at the end there. The beginning, let me slow this down, because it's very quick. It sounds a lot like a Yuma Nikki sound. That's not doing much of anything. Yeah, I don't think there's anything special in there other than the fact that this is associated with Chris themselves and Chris plays it. Or it plays after Chris gets done playing the song. And later, once I get towards the Chris piano segment that happens at the beginning of Chapter 4, Chris themselves knew how to play the piano that might not be played very well segment. Which to me implies that Chris knows what's going to happen in some aspect, especially since Chris ends up playing like Piano Shop and what was it? Last Prophecy before you even get into Chapter 4. And both of those songs are tracks of either or piano versions of either one of the Sanctuary songs in Chapter 4 and Shop 3 in Chapter 5. How would Chris even know the song unless they otherwise knew what was going to happen. It's very weird to me, but Chris has some meta knowledge that even us as the player don't have. Like, Chris themselves have Toby knowledge, almost. And this being attributed with Chris after playing a song that they knew was going to be played, and they didn't need the note for, puts a lot more significance on this as a whole. But again, I can't really tell you why it's significant towards Chris, other than the fact that it's followed up by Chris playing a song that they renditioned before needing to play this to progress. The song / sound by itself is very pretty. And I like that it was played before it was even used. I'll say it's above fanfare in my opinion. Not above Burly Descent, but it's there. Ow. My foot is so itchy, I hate that. Keep doing that. Okay. This is Alt Church Lobby. I've done this in a weird way, but we'll go with it. This track plays in the second sanctuary starting area in Chapter 4, and in the room where the fire extinguisher tells the party the door code. Played reversed. It is a chopped up version of Dark Place played at 57.5% speed. It's very specific, but cool. It's okay. It's more or less just supposed to be a bit ominous and give you a sense of disorientation and getting used to the new sanctuary and the emptiness of the church. But I'd say it's better than Audio Drone. Yeah, not better than Alley Ambience though. That's all I can really remark on that one. Next up is sound_act_perform. This track plays when the perform act is used against an organic. The track contains a portion of the Dark Sanctuary motif. These are very small, but I ended up adding these here just for consistency purposes. Yeah. It's just a sound effect. It has the Dark Sanctuary motif. Nothing much more. The next one is the same thing, but it's when you use the perform act against an organic. If one of Wickabell's tuning acts was used to boost the effectiveness of musical acts. So you have to jump through a little bit of hoops here to get it, but you can get it to work, and I think this is slightly better than the previous one, but not by a lot. Yeah. Actually, honestly, I'm gonna put it down here, and then where was the other one? Put it like below. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fair. It's just a little snippet. It's cute. Doesn't do all that much. Besides, you know, being an act sound effect. Next one we have is Sad Chord 2. This track plays in the Windows and Roots room in Chapter 4, behind the window that also leads to the chapter's egg room. This track also plays on deltarune.com/lost where the forest would grow when clicking on the blue tree, where it is labeled as chord. This track will only play 3 times, as clicking on the tree for a 4th time will redirect the user to deltarune.com/window. This was teased shortly before the release of Chapter 4. What chord is that? Is it like diminished F major 7? There's some weird chord like that. It's a diminished chord, it feels like. It has to be diminished, and it has to be a minor. The fact that it plays in the roots room and windows, I feel like is very emblematic of... You don't need to go through the roots room to have the boss fight happen in 4, which is very interesting to me. It might not have a lot of implication, but it's kind of evident that the Roaring Knight wanted Gerson to be kind of an opposing force to the squad, but ends up just being another ally, so you don't end up getting a lot of this weird ominous root stuff until second Sanctuary, when you go into the old man's study in there. But past that, it's good. It's very moody, especially if it plays in the window, in the windows, behind the window that also leads to the chapter's egg room. I feel like that's very, very, what's the word? There's a symbolic nature to it. Like, there's something corresponding between this chord and the Eggman, or the man, that I don't think has been touched on entirely, but it might just be the chord that man is played in, that this is, or that this is supposed to be representing, like a mode. It'll go up higher. It's like near PN. Next we have After Rain Outside. This track plays in the church after sealing the third sanctuary fountain. It is a longer, looping, and muffled version of the intro to the place where it rained. Yeah, it's just the place where it rained, but it's before the music. It's good ambience. It's very quiet and moody, but I like it a lot more than some of the other ambience. I'm probably gonna put this above, like, Breath, but it's only because it's very moody. I like rain ambience a lot. And the fact that it plays in the church after you seal the fountain, or the third sanctuary fountain, very, it's just very moody, and it's a very calming ambience, but it also can be used in a very, tense light, even though I don't think that's that's not entirely how it was used in game. So it goes up there for me. But that's just my personal opinion on that. Not much more past that. Next we have Jitterbug Muffled. This track plays at Chris's room at the end of Chapter 4. It is a muffled and slowed down version of The Old Jitterbug. Good, in my opinion. Creepy, tense, and it goes along well with Chris struggling to sleep because Sans and Toriel are partying and whatnot. I'll put it like... It's below breath. I just like it. It fits that mood of like... If you've ever been in your room and people are still up and they're listening to music and stuff and you're trying to sleep, this emulates that feeling very well. The slowing down aspect adds a bit more to the like creepy movement and implications of Chris putting their soul in the cage and trying to get some sleep without being controlled by the soul. But there's not much more implication past that. Next we have Lancer Annoying. This is where we get into like more of the annoying dog territory. Anything with the term annoying, I feel like usually gets associated with the annoying dog, as we'll see whenever we get to the dog check section. Like Annoying Prophecy. I believe this might have been meant for a dog check at one point, but it got repurposed for what the wiki tells us it was used for. This track plays in Castletown when returning near the end of Chapter 4. It is an alternate version of Versus Lancer from the Deltarune Chapter 1 OST. Lancer can be seen playing the tuba, dancing in a circle with the Worm, Mr. Elegance, a bee blocker, Top Chef, and Royal Coat Rack. This track also plays in Ralsei's room in Chapter 5 when the party first enters, provided that they have entered it before. This one's a bop. It's a good joke song, too. I mean, it's just Lancer's theme, but it's goofy. I'll give it like... It's up there. It's a good joke song. It's above Honk Song. Probably above Brat Fashion and Cat Fashion. That's just because I like the song unironically. Like, I think it still works because Lancer's theme is, or Versus Lancer is such a good song that even with like a very shitty MIDI, it works really well. It's still catchy. Next we move on to the Chapter 5 tracks. First one we get is sound_feather_get. This track plays upon booting up Chapter 5 as chapter_select. It also plays after obtaining the pedal feather after beating real-time encounters. Very memorable. And for that, I feel like it goes right below Chapter 5 logo because it does what the Chapter 5 logo does, and it accompanies it in one case. But in game it's also used as like a victory sound, or like a sound of completion. So I just like it a lot. It's very good at setting the tone for what Chapter 5's theme is, which is a very Japanese culture theming. Very much like an Edo period of Japan. Not much more than that, though. Next we have a song called Stealth. This one was not scrapped, but repurposed. Earlier, we were considering having a stealth-focused section in the game where you would slowly sneak around certain areas. After developing some concepts, we realized the mechanic, which basically just makes you move slower, isn't necessarily fun. So we didn't do that. This track plays during the cutscenes in Mike's room in Chapter 5. It uses the Mike's and Lost Girl motifs. It was first shared in the issue 4 Autumn 2023 newsletter as Sneaking, and appearing in the game files as Stealth. It was originally intended for stealth-focused backstage for a stealth-focused backstage section in the middle of the soundboard or the city board, which was scrapped. In the final game, the sneaking sections were moved from the backstage to TV world, and are very short bursts of speed, which is faster than running. This track's melody was instead integrated into the Mike's themes. Despite the track now being used in-game as of Chapter 5, it is still not included in OST, or in the OST, which is interesting in my opinion, but I don't know why, actually. I guess because the whole Mike thing already had its own section in Chapter 4 OST. I like the very strong jazz theme in this. If I had to rate it, it's probably above Cat Swing. It's very groovy. It's above Physical Challenge in my opinion. Very simple though. It also ties Mike in with Lost Girl a lot, which very strange to me. And the fact that Mike has connection with Tenna and Spamton, who I think both reference Des in some form. Like Spamton tried communicating with Des about Free Friend Finder. So I guess, yeah, they both have connection with Des in some way, so I guess it works. Sorry, I just had some hot sauce. Before we continue, I'm gonna go get some water, chat. We're a little over halfway through, and we're 2 hours in. So this is probably gonna be another 4-hour stream like I anticipated. Although, once I get some more of these tracks, I'm gonna have a lot more to talk about. So it might end up being like a 5-hour, 4.5 launch stream. 4.5-hour launch stream. I'll be right back, chat. Give me like 1 second. Alright, I'm back. We're out of water. I guess that's why I didn't get water before stream, but I got some chips and guacamole, so I'll be eating that while we listen to some of this stuff. I'll try not to be too loud, but again, like, it's chips. I mean, it's gonna be... that wasn't too loud, actually. It might have been loud for you. Okay, but anyway, continuing. Oh yeah, I did stealth, right? Okay, we can go past that now. Okay, next is Kiki upgrade. This track plays in Nagasaki Kiki Park, found in Mike's room. Yeah, this plays in that secret little mini game in Mike's room in Chapter 5. It's alright. It's probably cute. I'll put it in joke because I think it's a joke. I mean, the fact that it's called Kiki Upgrade and it's supposed to be kitty, and I know the minigame is about a cat that you give, like, chew toys to. And Keep Happy is like a... It's not meant to be taken serious. The fact that the name is Nagasaki Kiki Park... But... It's a bit weird. But it's probably because it's either a joke or a reference to something I'm not entirely getting. Next we have the Chapter 5 intro audio. This track plays during Flowey's animated introduction. Uses flowery motif. Yeah, this plays during that animated anime cutscene. I can't really rate the audio that great because it's supposed to be viewed with the cutscene. You're never supposed to be hearing it without the cutscene in mind. I like the fact that I think it has W in it, the same way, like, after you finish creating your vessel at the beginning of the game, and it plays W, I think this ambience that happens right here to build up the, like, actual introduction, right here, that, I think, is something close to W, and then you get complete silence, and then you get Flowery doing his thing. Where did I put it? Oh no. Oh, okay, here. I do find that very interesting that it has the same pacing. But I think that's just to, like, make it more tense and, like, shocking or dramatic for his entrance and introduction. I do like that it has the flowery motif, though. I'll give it, like, a... It's not a joke, either. It is taken seriously. Better than Fanfare. Yeah, I'll say that. It's probably better than Fanfare, if I had to wager. Okay. Next we have sound underscore flowery underscore joined. This track plays when Flowery joins the party in Garden. It is a variation of Carrick joined, made up of saxophones. Yep. It's literally just better Carrick joined. Granted, I think it's a joke. I could put this in joke tier. Because he only joins the party for a bit. And it's supposed to be like just rehashing the care joined, but for him. But it could be taken seriously. I'll put it in joke tier just because I feel like it's joke tier. That being said, it's below like it's below Pirate Dojo. I like the sound, it's just like if I'm taking it from the perspective of a joke. More of the joke lies in Flowery joining the party against Rouse's will. Which is funny. But you know. Next we have sound underscore feather underscore get underscore second part. Wow. This track plays during the transition into platformer mode upon obtaining the petal feather in Garden. This is a little bit it's on the same level. They're literally on the same level, but I'll put feather get a tiny bit higher just because I like it how feather get gets used more. But like they're interchangeable. They both do exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Next is Asgore underscore serious underscore drum underscore only underscore low. Plays during Asgore's discussion with Flowery at top of castle, at the entrance. It is a section from Flower King using only the drums. Yep. Very ominous. I like Flower King as a track in general, and the fact that it's only the drums and the bell is really good. I'll give this a... Huh. I'll put it above dig dig to the center of the earth, and then I'll put the next one above it, but directly above it, because of what it is. Asgore underscore serious underscore drum underscore only underscore flowery underscore version plays during Flowery's discussion with the party alongside the 7 colored flowers at the entrance of top of castle. That plays shortly after the file above. It is the same as the last file, but with an added flowery motif. I feel like that's very fitting. Like, it's a very good contrast in terms of you have the nice soothing sax, but you have the intense drums. But they both complement each other very well. And therefore, I just think it's slightly better than the normal version. You get a nice little duo. Get some progression there too. Cowboy Song is literally a joke. Or a reference therefore, but we'll see where I feel about it after reading this. Plays during Yellow and Seth's scene at Flower Cafe, when the former is carrying the latter and Horse Rouse on his back. The melody is likely based on Blue Shadows on a Trail by Randy Newman for the Western comedy Three Amigos, and could also be a reference to the music by the Ink Spots. It's obviously an Ink Spots joke in my mind, but it could be either because that's a very common chord progression. I'll put it like above Inappropriate Recycling, but nothing more. It's just eh. Okay, yeah. Nothing much more to say about that one. Next we have Pink_theme_mad. It's a sped up and more intense version of Pink. Plays in Pink's introduction cutscene after she gets angry when the heroes expose her for not being a flower. To Orange. This would count as songs, so I'm gonna read it. Where's Pink? This goes like higher, but not by much. Just because it's Pink, but sped up. Next we have sound_pink_stretch_2_troubled. Plays during the final phase of the fight against Pink. It is a section from the track Cutie Mew Mew Magic, but slowed down by about 66% and distorted. I'm willing to bet it's 66.66666 repeating and distorted. Now, this is a sound effect, in my opinion, because it's very short and it plays during a very, very, very specific point in this, the fight. And it's basically just Cutie Mew Mew Magic, but edited. However, I do like it how it's edited, and I like the use case it's for, which is during that whole kind of possession scene, and you have to like basically exercise Pink during her weird like light eyeball phase. But like, where was the corrupted stuff? Oh yeah, it was down there. Board 4 Rhythm and Bossy Distort. This is better than that. This is one of those edited ones of tracks that I think does better in practice. And also the cheeky 66.666 repeating is also very funny. But, you know, evil, it's evil. I'll put it like alt church lobby. I feel like that's fine. Let me try speeding this up and seeing if anything happens, if I can get it to sound normal. It's close, but it's still slowed down a bit. And then the next one is literally just the same, but without the distortion. In my opinion, this goes lower. Just because this plays directly after the past scene, or the dating sequence. And I feel like the dating sequence was the climax, and then this is the falling action. So it's not that impactful, it's just doing what the previous track did, but removing an element to be more normal. Like coming back to your senses type of thing. That being said, I could probably get this to sound a little bit closer. It's also quieter. Okay, anyway, past that. We have sound underscore flowery underscore power up, or underscore power underscore up. Plays right before Flowery's fight when gaining power from his recruits. I think it's a reference to whenever Flowery is consuming the souls, and it plays a sound like this, I believe, but it's not in with the same Japanese style instruments or sound font. Other than that, I don't really have much of an opinion. And I could just go top of B, I guess. Next we have a Rousey's singing section, which I don't know why it has its own section. There should just be an act section paired with the other stuff, but whatever. Sound underscore Rousey sing 1. This track also always plays when using the Lullaby X against Missile. It's part of the legend, so it's decent. I think it goes in the same spot that... Where were the other ones? This, and then... this. They're both just act sound effects, but they're good. Very cute the way it's used. I don't think these are interchangeable. I think you could just swap these around and have them be the same value. So I'm happy with that. Next, we move on to man, or man.ogg in the files, with its file extension. And the man section in general, with all the egg stuff. This first one plays in hidden rooms where the man appears, exclusively in Chapter 1 and 2. It is also used in the hidden nowhere room in Chapter 3, albeit heavily slowed down. An earlier version of the song was created by Toby Fox as a fan song titled Waltz of Sekam Masada for the game Human Nikki, being part of a collection of songs called Made Up Human Nikkis that was posted on Toby's Tumblr blog. This gets... As a song, it probably gets like an A, because it's a man motif. This is a decently important motif if you're in the... if you want to get some of the meta lore. There's some more like hidden lore, Easter egg lore, but because of its application, I have to give it like bottom of S. Because of how important it is. And yet, like, there's no information on all of the lore that surrounds this. So it's important, but we don't know why, which is the cool part about it. It does sound a lot like a Human Nikki song, so that tracks with the description. I also get heavy Gaster vibes, mainly because the piano echoes the same way I think Gaster's theme did. But I don't know, it's very... it's very dependent on the secret itself that it's accompanied by. And then man_NES is literally just the same, but it's in Chapter 3's Eggman Man Country. It is identical to the version of Toby Fox's Tumblr blog, where it is given the title Waltz of Sekam Masada, 8-bit. So, I like the fact that it's just completely... it's just the same track he used, like, way back when, but now, like, he found a purpose for it. I like that. I don't really know the Eggman stuff in Chapter 3 and onward as much as I do in 1 and 2. So I don't really have anything about it as of now, but I can still admit it's probably on the same level, if not slightly better. But I'm gonna put it below man. Normal man for now. Just because I don't know enough about it to exactly put it above or below. So I'll just be safe. Now, Man 2 is a track that plays in the hidden room where the man is found in Chapter 4. It is a new arrangement of the melody from Man and Man-ness. Very good. Very ominous. Very creepy. But also very soothing at the same time. I like the combination of soothing and yet also eerie. It's like a melancholy. It's like the melancholy equivalent of horror, where it borders on being comfy but also scary. I'll put it above Man Ness, but below Man, just because Man, in my opinion, is like hella fucking iconic if you've been in the game for so long. In the game's fandom. Or have known the game. Next up is Dog Balloon, or Dog underscore Balloon. This track plays in the hidden, annoying dog puzzle room before the man's room in Chapter 5. It is a chip-tuned variation of Dog Song, referencing Games of Happiness from Yoshi's Story. The arrangement of Dog Song used is reminiscent of Undertale's unlisted track Annoying Dog PS4 theme. I'd say it's a joke song. Probably. But I'll put it bottom of S. Just because I don't entirely... I mean, I get the reference now that it's been laid out for me. The part that's confusing me is why use the arrangement that you used for annoying... or for the PlayStation 4 version from Undertale, rather than a normal one. I guess he wants to just use that one. Oh, no. Next up, you'll probably be able to read it from down here, but it's very hard. This one is the longest one. Deltarune underscore piano underscore collections underscore by underscore Trevor underscore Allen underscore Gomes. Or Jones. I'll play that one next when I get back. I gotta put these dishes away and put these chips away. Hold on. Okay. We're good to go now. I'll play Deltarune Piano Collections by Trevor Allen Gomes. While this is playing, I'll read the description. This track plays in the man's hen room in Chapter 5. It is an excerpt from the Scarlet Forest cover by Trevor Allen Gomes at 140 within the Deltarune Piano Collections Volume 1 album, slowed down to 71% the speed of the original. According to Gomes, soon after its release in August 2025, Materia Collective told him that Toby Fox really liked the album and wanted to use some of the tracks from it in Chapter 5, alluding to this track and Field of Hopes and Dreams credits version. One interesting note is that we already knew the man was connected with a Scarlet Tree, but the fact that this is a Scarlet Forest excerpt and it's being used for the man, I feel like pretty much insinuates that whatever happened that Chris is trying to remember or deal with trauma-wise or memory-wise in some way is related to seeing a man in the Scarlet Forest. Not much to say after that. I like the piano cover a lot, I do. I can't say it's better than Scarlet Forest. Where is Scarlet Forest? Where's Scarlet Forest? Do I know where it is? Did I put Scarlet Forest up there? Did. Guess it's like below. Not bad. I don't really have much more than it other than like it's a good piano cover and it's chill. I like most of the piano in this game, as we're about to see with the Chris piano segments. Okay. Next up, we have Chris Piano 7-4. I'll explain this entire section though. In Chapter 4, after Chris captures the soul in the kitchen of Noelle's house, the soul can return to the kitchen a second time. An Easter egg occurs where Chris slowly walks off screen to the right to play 8 consecutive songs on the piano. Only the right stereo channel plays to reflect the direction of the music coming from the right side. Each of these songs is a recording of a real piano performance, rather than being made in a sequencer like most songs in the game. The list is sorted in the order that Chris plays them in-game. First one is 7-4. I'll play this while it's doing its thing. Chris's first song. The track's file name may be an instance of Japanese numeric substitution wordplay, as 7-4 can be read in Japanese as Nanashi, nameless or untitled. Additionally, it may serve as a reference to the 7-4 time signature, although it would more likely be written with a 7-8 time signature. Toby Fox collaborated with Itoki Hana on a song called 74. Or 7-4. I like that one a lot. It's very nice and relaxing. Very upbeat, but also a bit more waltzy. It kind of feels like a waltz, but it's a consistent tempo, so it doesn't have the swing that a waltz would have. I'll put it like above. I'll put it next to Ferris wheel. Next we have Chris Piano Quiz. This track is a piano rendition of Query, which I have in C tier. This one can go in like top of or bottom of B tier. It's better than the other one, but that's just because it's piano and I like the vibe of it being played live. Like, instead of it being sequenced, it's Chris doing their own thing unprompted, which I like a lot. Oh. The next one is Chris Piano Lancer Waltz. This track is a piano rendition of Acid Tunnel of Love, which features Lancer's motif. Kind of sounds like a Mario song. Very nice. Very good. I like it the same way I like Acid Tunnel of Love. But it is generally better. Just because you get that same vibe that you do out of the piano that might not be played that well. But if you do it with Acid Tunnel of Love, you just get like a very nice and relaxing and floaty feeling song that also feels pretty romantic, but in like a moody sort of way. It's not like crazy love song. It's just there. I'll put it next to Lost Girl. I think that's fair. Next we have Chris Piano Rules. This track is a rendition of It's Pronounced Rules. Hey! Very good. This is one of the ones where I'll say it's probably worse than the original, because I like the vibe of the original one having violin and then having a combination of all the instruments. It feels more like a shanty that way. Coming out of a piano, it comes off as more of like a... I hear a lot more of Lancer than I do Rules card out of that. which I guess is fine, but like it's overbearing how much you can hear Lancer in the song compared to how you can hear it in its pronounced rules. Next we have Waiting Room. This track is a rendition of the section of TV World that contains the hip shop motif. Yeah, this is the... yeah. This song is so good. Like, you're already taking TV World, which is insanely good, and then you're making like a... it sounds like a lullaby. It wants to be a lullaby so much, but it's so strong and energetic that it can't help but be this cheery waltz that occurs, or that happens. It's just so good. It feels completely different than TV World because it's on piano. But it's still the same song. That's the magical part about it. I think these both are the same, but they both do completely different things in terms of, like, emotion. It feels way more triumphant, but, like, in a... triumphant in time that is soon to pass, everything will be okay sort of way. Meanwhile, TV World, you're going heads on. This one, it's trying to be... It's not trying to be, but it feels like it's trying to be a lullaby, but it's not. Because it does this rhythm of, like, a waltz. And then it goes into, like, a bossa nova feel. Jazz. And then it transforms into, like, a fast-paced... would you call it a break? A jazz break section? There's so much progression here that just happens. It's so good. No, the entire time it's waltz. It feels like a dance. Very good. And I also like the way that it goes into a... that might have been a minor chord, but it probably might have been a major chord, but it was just so low it sounded minor. But it was probably minor. Very, very good. That's probably the best one that we're gonna have here, besides maybe Prophecy or Last Prophecy. For the pianos. Next one we have is Chris underscore piano underscore shop. This track is a piano rendition of Shop 3, which is... Where is it? Yeah, Shop 3 is a Chapter 5 song, but Chris plays this in Chapter 4. Put it above a town called Hometown. Very good. Very, very good. I don't think it's as good as Shop 3, but it still does its job very well at being a nice little piano piece that you can relax to. Next one is Chris underscore piano underscore last underscore prophecy. This track uses the legend leitmotif, but it's its own thing, I think. Here's the legend motif. It's good. It has the legend in it, but I don't... It's nowhere near the same as the legend. This is probably going to come up in a later chapter, honestly. Considering that all of these songs are renditions of songs that already exist, but the Shop song was of Shop 3. This is probably going to be a chapter 6 or 7 song, honestly. As of right now, it's just the song it is, but without that much meaning besides the legend. I like the fact that if my theory is correct, which it's pretty likely this is probably going to show up later. I like the fact that this is open-ended as to what it could be used for. The fact that it's called Last Prophecy means it's probably going to be when we either see the Last Prophecy finally as the player, or if we enact the Last Prophecy, in which case this will play. In my theory, or my head, but that's when I think it will play. And I like the fact that we don't actually know whether or not it will come up yet or not, but it's likely. Last one of these is Chris underscore piano underscore prophecy. This track is a rendition of Piano That May Not Be Played That Well. The latter song is a version of this track played approximately at 75% speed. Yeah, it's exactly the same. How did... Chris just knows. It's probably in themselves that they know how, but the fact that they know how like that is just crazy to me. I'm going to put it in, like... Where is piano? That might not be played that well. There it is. I'll put this higher because of its implication that this was played at the beginning of the chapter that the original plays at. Just because of the implication. It's still a good song. It's the same as this, but this one's slower. Now we're on to the weird route stuff. This is where we get into the interesting bits. I won't be spoiling that much outside of what these descriptions tell me and tell us. I will mainly be focusing on why I like the sound design for the concept. Why I like the sound design for this via the idea of the weird route, if that makes sense. Like, the idea of the weird route existing and then this accompanying it does so much to add, like, this rewarding mystery feeling. Like, this feels like the entirety of the weird route feels like if you were in the 90s, were playing a game like Super Mario 64, and then you and you only had something happen to you that you cannot replicate, and you cannot prove to anybody, but you know you saw it, is how all this feels. It feels like one of those things you just cannot ever prove happened to you when you were a kid. Those weird playground myths of secret creepy shit happening in the video games. This jingle plays when performing actions that continue the weird route, such as freezing all enemies in an area in Chapter 2. In Chapter 4, it plays at 80% speed at one point. Ominous Worse is an extended version of this track. We'll get to that in a minute. As for this jingle, I'm putting it, like, top of S tier. It's very good at being, like, an indicator. I think that's Gaster. No. It feels like a phone ringing. Like you just had it. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a confirmation sound is basically what it's doing. But it lets you know something's off. It's like a notification sound on your phone. I like that a lot. And the way that this sound accompanies certain actions in the game follows the use case of the ominous jingle in the sword route of Chapter 3. So, like, as this says, whenever you freeze all the enemies in an area of Chapter 2, the same thing happens in the sword route once you hit a level and it plays the jingle. Like, it's so good to make that connection and have it be there. The interesting thing is, the weird route got found out before Chapter 3. So, we shouldn't even have found it until Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is when it was, like, basically hinted at. But we ended up finding it regardless in Chapter 2 before Chapter 3 even released. Which is cool, because that means, like, if we did find the weird route and the steps for it after Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 released, and then we were like, wait, did this exist whenever Chapter 2 came out years ago? And it did? That's like, ooh, Toby's had this planned. But because we found it quicker than we were supposed to, it doesn't have that same energy finding it. But it's still cool nonetheless. especially if you're new to the game. And it, like, even though the weird route is wrong, the fact that this gives you, like, confirmation and you get sounds for when you do it correctly and or incorrectly, as I'm about to come up on this next file, is like, it's like an evil but like cool way of letting you know if you're on the right track, even though it's the forbidden route. So that's why it gets S to me. It does its job insanely perfectly well. Better than any of these, simply because of the fact that it's an ominous sound that you would otherwise have no idea why it's in the game files unless you knew how to trigger this, which is just so good. Next we have sound underscore ominous underscore cancel. This jingle plays when the weird route is aborted, or otherwise you do the wrong step, which causes the weird route to not occur anymore. Yeah, it's an up, it goes up. It's cheery, you're back to normal. I'll put it below ominous just because I like the ominous better in terms of mood, but it's there and it does what it's supposed to do. And it also lets you, even though it's cheery and you're going back to normal, it serves as the incorrect sound if you're going for the weird route, which is cool in my opinion. It's like reverse. You have to put your morals on the flip side. Next we have Cyber City underscore alt. This track plays in Cyber City on the weird route. The track is an altered arrangement of Welcome to the City that loops the original version's intro melody at a lower tempo with a somber tone. The file is played 20% faster in-game, more closely resembling the original Welcome to the City. I'll play this like how we were supposed to play it, as close as we can. It wants to do the don't forget motif. That drum there was rotating clockwise from my right earmuff to my left earmuff around me in the stereo. Oh, the singing cat is when you kill Task Manager. That's what that is. And you kill the other cats. That's what that is. Okay, I understand now. It's good. I like it a lot. It's very moody. I'd put it like... I'll put it above Neverending Night. Next we have D. This track plays before the fight with Birdly on the weird route. When Noelle realizes he is her and Chris's opponent. It can also be accessed from deltarune.com/chapter 5 by clicking on the number 2. The in-game file name plus its extension spells dog, or dog G. Again with the high note. You get that? It's like an alarm, or like a very, very weary chord progression. Like, I don't, that's a theme with both the ocean music, the ocean board, and this one that have that chord. I wonder if Glacier has that. Don't remember though. As for the song, it's just a sound. Goes like right below Weird Birds. I think it has a connection. Just because Bird leaves Bird, and these two are, you know, there. But I have no proof of that. Birdly _battle_heartbeat_true. This tense track plays during the fight with Birdly on the Weird Route. It resembles the percussion at the beginning of Smart Race, as well as the sound of a heartbeat, as suggested by its file name. This track seems to be a reference to the heartbeat tracks from Mother 3. I find it cool that it has some of the parts of Birdly's song, but it's used as a more tense and symbolic way. Or in a more tense and symbolic way. To probably signal the fight's end, honestly. Yeah, I'll put it there. I think that's fine being right next to D, although it's probably better than D. Probably like right there. Next we have Me. This sound plays after the player reveals themselves to Noelle in Chapter 4 Weird Route. It repeats as the conversation goes on. From the Spamton Sweepstakes Silence links, deltarune.com/chapter 4/message reveals M and E when clicking on specific invisible objects. M is a copy of me with the first few seconds muted, and E is a reversed version of me, or M. Let's see. That's the same as the, oh, what was it? PNPN. PNPN. Right? That's the same. Has to be. Probably like above Feathergit. It's probably below, yeah, below Ominous Cancel. Yeah, I'm fine with that. It does sound a lot like the sounds in the sound font from the Mother series, specifically Earthbound. Sign Drone Danger High. This track plays after the player prompts Chris to re-equip the Thorn Ring to Noelle for the first time. It starts playing at a low pitch, and its speed keeps increasing until the Thorn Ring is re-equipped. A short, slowed down version of this track called Syndrome Danger exists in the game files. However, it is never used in-game. This track resembles the ambience from the Mother series when played at lower pitches. Let's see. It's probably a hella cool sequence, but I don't know how it goes yet, so I'll just put it, like, near Mysterious Ringing. Next we have Ominous Worse. I'm going to say, for the next few ominous tracks that come up, headset warning and volume warning is in full effect, because these get loud and loud, especially these two. These are hella loud. So I'd suggest turning down your volume if you're watching on YouTube during these parts. We'll get to there, though. Ominous_worse. It doesn't have sound. It's not sound_ominous_worse. It's just ominous_worse. Keep that in mind. For labeling purposes. Because that could have some indication later. I don't know why this one out of all of them doesn't have the sound inquiry. The sound plays after the Thorn Ring is forcibly re-equipped to Noelle. It is a longer version of SND_ominous. Very cool. I like that a lot. Probably like top. It might be below for me right now, because the normal one is so quintessential. But that'll probably change for me once I play through the weird route. Next we have Tinnitus. This ringing noise plays as Chris violently kicks the soul around inside a trash can in the cutscene after they are directed to re-equip the Thornwind to Noelle. The word tinnitus refers to the sensation of hearing a ringing sound when no external sound is present, usually caused by damage to the ear. The file is most likely named after this, as it also is a ringing sound. Yeah, it's just like this, but it repeats. Eh. It's a good sound effect, it's tinnitus, but it's just tinnitus. So, I'll put it in Mysterious Ringing. Because why not? I mean, I think it's fine there. Syndrome and Danger High is better than it. Happy_town. This somber guitar arrangement of A Town Called Hometown plays in Hometown during the festival in Chapter 5 after joining Susie. From 58 onward, Winter High Place starts playing in the background. From 1 minute 40 onward, C is interspersed throughout the track. It was initially teased by the snippet H on deltarune.com/chapter 5 / wow, I glitched there for a minute. Which is a 4-second long early version of this track at roughly 8.85 times speed. In the third round of the thank you survey, a participant answered Happy Town and received the response, "Aww." The track's name resembles another track name, that being Happy Town from the Undertale sound test room. Both sounds are most likely references to the similarly named Mother 3 track Happy Town, with a question mark. Let's hear it. You can hear in the piano or whatever on the right side of your earmuffs that all of the reverb is all out of tune. I'll say the song is very reminiscent of Festival in that it tries to have the same... It tries really hard to have the same leitmotifs, but it's not getting it quite right. Like, you can't... Don't forget, I'm with you in the day. It just can't, it can't do the don't forget motif. It's trying. It's a variation of it, but it doing it directly is not occurring here. It's out of tune. The entire thing is out of tune. Which is very, very nice. I'll rate this very high because I have a feeling this is going to be one of the most impactful ones in here, considering it has connections with Wind, High Place, and Sea. And I feel like the dialogue in the Weird Route, when you have Noelle and Susie in the same party, has to be, like, crazy, dude. So I'll put this in, like... above, yeah. It goes there. I think that's fine, yeah. Chapter 5 _weird _monologue _deep. This track plays during Noelle's monologue at the beach up until she and Chris start walking into the lake. It is an extended and chopped up arrangement of flashback excerpt, played in a different time signature and adding a heavy guitar in its latter half. It plays at 95% speed in game. Yeah, very much with the flashback. Very good. I'm assuming that is also going to be insanely impactful when I hear it or see it for the first time. But I'll put it below Happy Town just because I like Happy Town more than this one. The implication with this one is like you get the flashback sequence and the guitar is reminiscent of the guitar from Your Power, but it's being used in a darker tone. Again, it feels like there's like an alarm going off that's happening. All of it feels like alarms, like there's a red flag, which it is. All of it's a red flag, but it's gonna be cool when I do it. Next up we have Chapter 5 _ inversion _ lake _ chant. This track plays as Chris and Noelle walk into the lake, much like Syndrome _ danger _ high. It starts low and quiet, becoming faster and louder as the scene progresses. This track is the result of phase inverting two renders of a snippet from Festival. More specifically, the portion containing the Girl Next Door leitmotif, hence the inversion in the name. In the name. Oh, yeah, inversion. Okay, I see. I was dumb. Leaving mostly MP3 compression artifacts. According to the metadata inside of the game files, the music track was finalized in 2024, 2 years before the release of Chapter 5. Very interesting. It sounds fucking hellish. I'll put this in, like, Weirder Birds area. It gives off the same vibe as the Heartbeat True vibe, or the Birdly Battle Heartbeat. Okay, this is where the volume warning comes in. Sound _ ominous hell. I'd suggest turning your volume down, as this says this file is incredibly loud. So it is advised you lower your volume before playing. This jingle starts playing while continuing to select proceed as Chris and Noelle cross the lake, slowly replacing sound _ ominous over time. It is a heavily distorted and reverberated version of sound _ ominous. And then that one I like a lot more than the original just because I like how gritty the distortion is. And then we go into sound _ ominous _ hell _ super. This file is also incredibly loud, so it is advised you lower your volume before listening to it. It is the same as the previous one, but it replaces sound _ ominous _ hell further into the lake, rising in speed similarly to Chapter 5 _ inversion _ lake _ chant. It is significantly more distorted and reverberated than the aforementioned jingle. That is violent. It's a little bit too gritty, but that's the point. But for my hearing, I just like this one over the main one. And then finally, we're on to sound _ next. This sound plays following the lake sequence, when the screen changes to a CRT-like display. It's not all that interesting, so I'm gonna put it down into, like, audio drone. But do note that this will probably be more meaningful once I play it. So my opinion of that might change, but let's... It sounds like something slowed down. Oh. Dude, is that the sound of someone, like... It sounds like flesh. Wow. Oh, that's it. I'm not going to be playing through any of the Undertale tracks because it's literally just Undertale music. I'll get to Undertale music and all the unused stuff whenever I do the Undertale tier list. But for right now, I'm not going to do these. These will be for another time. These have different names, but they're basically just the same thing. Now we move on to the dog checks. Fourth to last, we have Dog Check. This track was titled Dog Check by Toby Fox on the Undertale 6th anniversary stream as a rare track, along with the simple description of rare. This track is an arrangement of Dog Song from Undertale with parts of Don't Forget and Once Upon a Time at the end. An alternate version of this track plays in the Undertale 8th anniversary merchandise video, with an arrangement of Home from Undertale at the end. The track plays in the game proper during Chapter 3, but is not listed in the OST. It plays briefly during the credits of Round 2 of TV time. I've heard this song a lot. I knew this one existed. This one's a nice little vibe. Let me go up and read... Okay. I'll explain what a dog check is after that song, because some of you may be confused of where this is heard. Dog check is a mechanic in Deltarune that is triggered by manually altering a chapter's save data to load an invalid or inaccessible room, or if the save file is massively corrupted. It is named after SCR_dogcheck, a script that appears within each chapter's code and checks for such conditions. Upon attempting to load a file that triggers a dog check, the player is brought to a simple black room containing the annoying dog. The actions the annoying dog performs and the music that plays in the background differ depending on the chapter. A dog check screen can also occur when loading a save file created in the Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 demo, or the full version of Deltarune in the survey_program version, or when loading a save file created in the LTS demo or full version of Deltarune in the 2021 to 2022 Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 demo. It's a lot of ifs. But yeah, that one plays when you trigger a dog check in Chapter 1. And it has this little screen. What the hell did I hover over that did that? Oh, okay. Next is Chapter 2, which is alarm_title.screen. This song's a bop. I'm putting it in like... Oh, I lost you. It's a joke song, but it's taken seriously. as like a little intermission. Like, oh, sorry, something fucked up. It goes where Hip Shop is. It's in the same vein, in my opinion. It's the same vibe of something chill and nice that you can listen to outside of it. Like, I would want to listen to this on Spotify. It's a nice little jig. Gives off the same vibe, but completely different instrument-wise. Anyway, back to this. Alarm _ title screen. This is a short, upbeat chiptune track. According to metadata inside of the game's music files, it was finalized in 2017, 4 years before the release of Chapter 2. This, alongside the name, implies that it was initially composed for the scrapped Undertale Alarm Clock's title screen. It's loud. Very close to Game & Watch. But that makes sense considering Alarm Clock. It's a music track, but it's short, so I'll put it in sound. It's like okay. I'll put it in like top of B. I don't really have any connection with it. Next we have Annoying _ Prophecy. This is a short track that features the Dark Sanctuary motif. This goes in like the same realm as the opening, I think. Where was the Chapter 5? First intro? It's like worse than that, but it's still there, so I'll put it like that next to each other. I think that's fair. And lastly, we have Inokuma _ whip. Or work in progress. This is a rendition of Dog Song in the style of Mr. Monokuma's Lesson. The file is a play on the Japanese inu, meaning dog, and Monokuma, reminiscent of inusu and inuse. Inuse. Okay, yeah. The Japanese translations for dogs and dogsei from Deltarune's Chapter 1 spoiler-free trailer. This is a inherent reference to what am I thinking of? It's a direct reference to Danganronpa, yeah. The room features the annoying dog drawn in the style mimicking the character Monokuma from the Danganronpa franchise. The annoying dog has fluid animation and slowly moves its head from side to side. The fact that there's a... Hold on, I'll just play this. To me, it's insane that Toby would I mean, it's not insane, but I bet you like a good 80% of you don't even know this song exists in the game. I'm willing to bet. Unless you're fucking with the files of Chapter 5 and you're trying to play it, or if you're in the game itself. If you're a casual viewer and you just have watched people play the game and you have like seen lore videos and stuff, you would have never thought that this was in the game. I never knew, but it's here. And to be the last track is crazy, but it is. S tier joke. Never would I have ever thought Danganronpa would be referenced in any of Toby's work, but here it is. Yeah, that's it. I don't really have much else planned other than, thank you guys for supporting the first part of this series and the second part too, but mainly the first part. It encouraged me to do this last part a lot compared to part 2. Part 2 I was a bit more iffy on doing, but I forced myself to do that one, and I enjoyed doing the rating for part 2. But this entire list took a lot of energy out of me, but I'm happy to have gotten it done. So I'll save this. As my Deltarune playlist, or not playlist, tier list. Hold on. Wow, I spelled that wrong. Save. I would go here. I delete it. I can. This is work in progress 2. I'll delete this. And work in progress 1 from the first video, I'll delete this too. So now we have the full, complete list. If you are curious as to wanting to search this tier list up, the name of it is Every Music Track, Including Unlisted from Deltarune 1 through 5. Made by K-Tender. I don't know where it says my name, but, you know. Feel free to use it in your own videos if you want. I'm fine with that. But yeah, link to this will be in the description of all 3 parts after this video's upload, and the link to the wiki that I used to get some of the images for both this tier list and the music that I just did for this part will be in the description as well if you are curious as to wanting to search up some of these songs if you've never heard of some of these before. I am more versed in this than I ever thought I would be, but now I'm completely nerded out with this. The only thing I have left to do is do the weird route and some of the Easter eggs, or all of the man Easter eggs and all that, and then we'll be good until chapter 6 and 7. After that, I don't know what else I'll be doing, but probably speedrunning the game. I'd be down for speedrunning the game, honestly. But we'll reach that bridge when we get to it. Until next time, which will be in 9 months, if for Deltarune content anyway. I expect Gears of War content until then. But for now, see y'all, chat. I appreciated anyone who dropped in, anyone who watched any of my VODs, and